Hey YouTube, how's it going? Kevin Cleary with a knife video for you. This is a video that's kind of scary, okay? And I want you to know that I'm not making it up, that I literally this morning talked to a Border Services agent, and that's where this information is coming from, in addition to a couple of letters that I've received from Canada Border Services, okay? So, let me begin my story first by showing you some knives, telling you about something that was going to happen, and then telling you the situation I'm in now. So, great knife, zero tolerance, 0801. I know it hasn't been reviewed yet because this knife is under construction by me. I will get to it once I get this knife into a situation where, you know, I like it. It's close. I've made a number of improvements to it, and it's well on the way to where I want it, but it's not there yet. Okay. Zero tolerance, 0200. Brose VR71. Hopefully, in addition to this video, I'll get a review of this done today. That's on the list. Silent Soldier. 0392. Now, all of these blades that I've been showing you have one thing in common: a flipper. Okay, great knives, totally awesome, but there could be a problem in the fairly near future with knives that have a flipper. Okay, in fact, technically it's already here, it's just not being applied. Let me tell you a little story about what was going to be my first custom knife. I had a couple of knives I was ready to trade, and I put them up on blade forums and was negotiating with a couple of different people over different stuff. Finally, a knife that I was really interested in from a maker that I was really interested in was offered to me in trade. It was a Will Moon Mark 6. I was like, that's awesome. I like Will Moon. I like the Mark 6. Really, really cool to be able to get one and at least try it. So, made the deal. Awesome. We'll trade. I send my knives down. He sends his knife up. And everything's great, except there's a delay. Your knife is in customs. It's going to be a while. So after quite, I'm tracking it, and it'll tell you it's in customs. It hasn't cleared yet. It's in customs. And so finally, after quite a long time, I called, and they said, yeah, just we're really swamped right now. No big deal. It'll probably be coming shortly. Well, I waited about 2 more weeks. I don't know, maybe 1 more week. It wasn't that much longer after I called that instead of my knife, I get a letter. Okay, I'm not going to show you the front side of the letter because it has some information that probably I don't want everyone in the whole entire universe to know, but the main point of the letter is that your folding knife, which by the way, it was interesting, they say folding knife, green and brown with no markings. What the heck? So I had to explain, and they asked me specifically when I called, what is up with this knife? Who makes it? Where's it from? I said it's a custom knife, so it's not going to have any markings, but this custom knife is prohibited as per federal judgment AP 2012-072. Okay, I'm going to say that one more time for those of you who want to Google it. Federal Judgment AP-2012-072. Now, you'll find that judgment is pertaining to a stiletto that someone was trying to bring in, and in my appeal letter I specifically said this knife is not a stiletto. It's not like a stiletto. It's not meant to be a stiletto, nothing like that. Hoping that maybe that would make a difference, but it was explained to me today when I talked to a very helpful agent. By the way, in this process, Canada Border Services have been very good. I know probably lots of you could tell horror stories about dealing with government agencies. I could tell a few myself, but Canada Border Services has been good. They've been helpful. They've been patient. Giving me the time that I needed to ask questions and get clarification on things. Anyway, so today I'm talking to a very helpful Border Services agent, and she explains to me that this judgment has essentially, and these are her words, this judgment has redefined the term auto to include a flipper mechanism. Okay, those are her words. And so if you're a Canadian and you're a knife guy, you already know the list, okay? There is a list of prohibited weapons in Canada. It includes push daggers and anything that's like a hidden knife. So a belt buckle knife or a sword inside of a cane or all those kinds of things. A comb disguised to be a knife, all the different things that ways that people have hidden knives. That's not allowed, okay? You can carry a knife in Canada. There's no blade limit. There's nothing like that. In fact, if I wanted to, I could put this on my hip and put it on my belt and walk around everywhere I went with a SOG. This is a Seal Pup Elite. Totally legal. I could absolutely do that. Have no problems at all, okay? However, if I find a way to make this knife fold and open, all of a sudden I could be in problems, okay? Now, sorry about that. Now, let me tell you, I'm not going to give you the whole long list of things that are prohibited, but here's the main point. We now have something new on the list that's not reflected anywhere. Okay, so if you're getting ready right now to go and buy a knife and you say, oh, I want to make sure, maybe you're getting ready to buy a zero tolerance 0801 and you say, oh, I want to make sure that everything's legal and up with that knife. So you go to, the Canadian government's website and you look up prohibited knives and you find the list. You go, oh yeah, there's nothing on there about flipper mechanisms. I'm good to go. And you buy the knife and you order it. Guess what? It could, if they stop it. Now, by the way, I've noticed that under $200, they tend to not care as much. Over $200, almost certainly your package is going to be opened and examined, okay? Almost guaranteed. In my experience, that's what's happened. Every time I brought in a knife that's over $200, they open it, they examine it. Every time I bring in a knife that's under $200, it comes through no problem, okay? So I'm just going to put that out there. May not be everybody's experience. I know, in fact, one of the guys who commented on a YouTube video of mine a while back said he had a SOG Snarl that was stopped because they claimed it was brass knuckles. You'd think the guard would at least try to put his fingers through and see that it doesn't work that way, that it's just a skeletonized handle. But anyway, that's a discussion for another day. Maybe he'll make a video about that, okay? I'll leave that up to him. But for now, I want to talk about auto knives because it's a huge thing. You could go to Canadian Tire right now, 20 minutes from me, and there are knives with a flipper on the shelf. You could go to Cabela's and find a whole bunch of knives with a flipper on the shelf for sale. You could literally go and buy a prohibited weapon not knowing right now. Okay, so if you want one, you better do it that way because bringing it across the border could be a real issue. Now, let me speak just a little bit to the logic of all of this, okay? I am, by the way, going to contact my Member of Parliament. I think you should too. If you watch this and you're in Canada, you need to look up this judgment, AP 2012-072. There's a dash between each of those, AP-2012-072. You need to call your Member of Parliament and say, hey, this is being viewed as a change to the criminal code. It's not acceptable. Someone needs to appeal it. Okay, I'm not going to have my knife be the one. If it was a $20 cold steel knife or something, maybe I would. But I'm going to try to go another way and get them to send it back to the person who initially sent it to me, which really sucks, and I'm pretty disappointed about that. But so this is one more thing from the border agent that I talked to. She said, if I deem this to be a prohibited weapon, and it is up to her. I was able to talk to the very person who will be deciding, which was great. They are very honest with you, and they give you her name and phone number and everything right there. If she said, I deem this prohibited, the only way to appeal that will be to challenge this piece of jurisprudence. Okay? And so that's really what needs to be done. It's just that I'm not in really a position to do it. Hopefully my MP will be able to help me out and give me a little direction on that, because I think that's what needs to be done in this case. Okay, now let me expand just a little more. Maybe you're watching this going, who cares? Like, I don't want, if somebody thinks it's a dangerous weapon, well, it should be prohibited. Well, think about this. Okay, any knife that folds in any way for any reason is slower than a fixed blade. Okay, doesn't matter. I've got a few knives here. Here's a Recon 1. Now this knife would be totally legal. Okay, it opens with a thumb stud, making it not subject to the federal ruling that is being cited, okay? This is my 0200. Likely it would be fine because a person who's not a knife person is not going to get this to deploy. It will deploy with the flipper, but it's a little tough. But it doesn't matter how fast you are. In no way are you going to get this knife, okay? So here you go. I've got this knife in my hand. What can I do with it? Nothing. Okay, it's closed. Now I can cut something if I need to. All right. This knife out of my pocket and this knife out of my pocket. Wow. This one is way faster because it's automatically deployed, okay? It's open. It's a fixed blade. And so it doesn't make sense to prohibit any folding knife because no matter how it folds, whether it's an out the front, that is a knife that shoots out the front like this, whether it's a folding out the side knife, an automatic knife that deploys with a button, whatever mechanism you want to choose, a knife that's not a fixed blade is by nature slower than a knife that is a fixed blade, okay? That's number one. Doesn't make any sense. Any folding knife is slower than every fixed blade, okay? Number two, people who buy VR71s and 0200s and 0801s and even Recon ones, they don't use those knives to commit crimes. There are a fairly small number of deaths involving knives in Canada already, and in the US the same is true. And guess what? Those knives are like, those crimes that are committed are 99% committed with a kitchen knife. So if you really want to pass a law that would limit crime, you would have to pass a law that says no more kitchen knives, okay? Which wouldn't make any sense at all. The reality is that there are things in this world that are dangerous, okay? You make laws that say don't use this dangerous thing. Maybe it's a car, maybe it's a hammer, maybe it's a kite, okay? Maybe it's a remote control car. But you make laws that say don't use this thing in a way that harms anybody, okay? That's all the law you need. If it's illegal to assault someone with a knife, it doesn't matter what kind of knife it is, it's illegal to assault someone with it, okay? And that's the kind of laws you should make. You don't need to prohibit a whole bunch of stuff. You know, if everyone starts running around killing each other with cameras, are we going to prohibit cameras? Okay? So, knives are tools. Like many other tools, they can be potentially harmful to the user or to someone else. You don't prohibit anything that could be potentially harmful to somebody because we'd all have to walk around in bubble wrap. All right, we'd have to put fences around all the roads because someone could walk onto the road and get hit. It happens every day. In fact, far more people die from that than die from guns or knives or any other weapon, prohibited or otherwise. Okay, so guys, this is primarily a warning. I know it's a bit of a discussion and I know I'm getting long-winded, but I want to make sure I include most of what matters. The main point that I want to make here is that if you have a knife with a flipper mechanism, it could be deemed a prohibited weapon in the not too distant future. In fact, Border Services agents are already interpreting this particular judgment in that way. Number two, call your member of parliament and say, hey, this has happened. Essentially, a new piece has been added to the Criminal Code of Canada, a new weapon or a new prohibited weapon has been added to the Criminal Code of Canada without anyone being told or anyone being aware, to such an extent that all kinds of stores all over the place still have those exact weapons on their shelves being sold right now today. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. If you're in a similar situation to me, I feel for you. It's super frustrating. And I know it happens not only here in Canada, but in Australia and the UK, and even in certain US states. And so it's really frustrating. And again, you know, philosophically, what I would say is, no, we don't want people hurting each other. And so what you do is you pass laws saying, you can't use a weapon or anything else to hurt somebody. And then if someone does that, they're breaking the law. You don't need a second law saying, okay, in addition to saying you're not allowed to hurt somebody with this weapon, we're going to prohibit the weapon itself or tool. Okay, and again, I'm going to come back to cars. Cars kill more people by far than any tool or weapon prohibited or non-prohibited or whatever, but no one's suggesting we make cars prohibited. Okay, even though they're way more dangerous than anything that I've shown you, anything that I own other than my car. Okay, so there you go. Kind of a negative video. I hate making negative videos, but this one I wanted to put out there. I know a lot of my subscribers are not Canadian, but for those of you who are, you should know about this. For those of you who are in the US, maybe you have some Canadian friends, and you should tell them, hey, if you're living in Canada, whatever you have that has a flipper mechanism on it could be prohibited. Thanks for watching, guys. Feel free to tell some of your stories below, and we'll talk to you soon.